I have fantastic news for you, which is that Trump's top lawyers and supporters just took a gargantuan loss in court late last night, allowing a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against each of them to go forward. We're talking about the fact that Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Mike Lindell all have multi-billion-dollar lawsuits against them. They tried to get them thrown out of court before the trial started, but a judge absolutely smacked them down, basically saying, and I have it up on the screen here, that there's more than enough evidence that they made claims that were obviously meant to be portrayed as factual, aka they were not being fantastical, they were not being hyperbolic, they were making the case that, this is obviously something we want to portray as fact. And so therefore, when they lie, it can be seen as slander or libel against the company in question. And there's more than enough evidence that they made those statements. And so the trial can go forward. And what's also important here is they directly tore down some of the arguments made by Trump and his lawyers. Specifically, they tore down the Sidney Powell argument that no reasonable person would believe her. Remember that, in front of the camera, she was acting like all of this was totally serious. But when her own behind was on the line in court, she tried to twist it around and say, hey, no reasonable person would believe what I was saying. I was basically an entertainer. I'm like Tucker Carlson on Fox, where no one expects me to actually tell the truth. And so therefore, when I lie, it's not really a lie. I'm just sort of an actor. The judge said, that's not good enough. You are a lawyer and you were making factual statements, or at least making false statements, portraying them as facts. And there's enough evidence, so we're going to trial. And it also made it very clear that just because these statements were made out of court doesn't give the lawyers protection, because they were acting in a capacity as lawyers when making them. So this is crucial not only for Rudy Giuliani going down and for Sidney Powell going down, but any of the other Trump lawyers could face similar lawsuits in civil and maybe even criminal court based on the fact that they were telling lies, even if they didn't necessarily formally lie in front of a judge. It may not be perjury, but it could be a lie told in a professional capacity that puts them in danger. And this is great to see, because you're finally going to see some consequences for the Trump inner circle, hopefully. A lot of the lawyers affected thus far have been sort of on the periphery. They either worked briefly with Trump or they didn't really work with Trump, but were sort of putting their own lawsuits forward on behalf of Trump or the Republican Party. Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell were Trump lawyers. They were employed by Trump and or his campaign. And as we've been talking about, Mike Lindell is very close to Trump and is the leader, the kingpin of the Trump conspiracy fan club. And also what matters here is that this could bankrupt them. These are the consequences. Each of them individually, not together, each of them are being sued for more than $1 billion. And we know Rudy has been reduced to begging for money. And I can guarantee you that Mike Lindell and Sidney Powell do not have billions of dollars, or likely even hundreds of millions of dollars. So they are at prospect of going absolutely bankrupt here. Even if the settlement gets negotiated down, it's going to take every single cent they have. And they deserve nothing less. Again, we still await the moment where Donald Trump himself gets sued into oblivion or thrown into jail for his lies. But let's take solace in the fact that this is a direct rebuke of Trump, and people that were instrumental in his lies are going to have their lives justifiably ruined. It's a good day.